Have you ever had that sinking feeling that no matter how much effort you're putting in, something is missing? Like you're trying your best to do everything right, but it still feels like you're not making progress. Like you're misaligned and you're not excited about what you're doing. And maybe you're wondering, what the heck do I need to do differently? Now, if that's you, just nod your head, say yes. Look, I know exactly how that feels because I've lived it. But here's the good news. There's a way out of that frustrating, murky, meh feeling. So can I share a story with you? I'm going to share a story about how I discovered a framework that transformed not only how I live my life, but also how I operate my business. And I promise to drop some value bombs along the way to make sure that you leave even better than when you came. So now in late 2022, I hit a wall. I've been an entrepreneur since 2004 and ran a variety of businesses over the years: real estate brokerage, investing company, Amazon private label brand, funnel building agency. So from the outside, it looked like I had it going on. But the truth is, inside, I felt like an imposter. I had this sinking sense of unfulfillment, and sometimes I felt like I was just going through the motions. Now, I'm typically very optimistic, I'm high energy, but I couldn't shake that feeling that I was out of alignment. And it wasn't just in my business, it was personal too. It was like I was waking up in the morning and operating on cruise control, but I wasn't even sure I liked the vehicle that I was in. You know, that feeling of going through the motions, waking up every day, knowing something's off, but not being able to pinpoint what it is very frustrating and exhausting. You ever felt that way? Like you're putting in a lot of effort, but deep down, you know that you're not aligned with your purpose. Maybe you feel that way right now. See, what I didn't realize was this: fulfillment doesn't come from checking off a bunch of tasks or grinding harder. It comes from aligning your goals and your actions and your mindset with something greater, a greater purpose. See, social media culture pushes you to hustle harder, chase the next trending strategy to gain influence, and keep grinding no matter what, and you'll be successful. But that's not where real success comes from. See, Albert Einstein said, you can't solve a problem from the same mindset that created it. Fulfillment isn't about doing more. It's about doing what matters. And fulfillment starts with alignment, not a bunch of mindless action. I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday. In November of 2022, I was making some content for social media for my business, and I felt very uninspired while I was making it. Then God laid it on my heart to stop. I mean, just an urge to completely pause everything that I was doing and to be still. So I did. I mean, I stopped everything, and I took the next couple weeks to pray and to meditate and to really ask for guidance. And to be honest with you, I didn't even know what I needed to ask for. I didn't know how to articulate the problem. I just asked him to help me, and I trusted him to show me whatever he wanted to show me. And during that time, he revealed a pattern in my life. See, the times when I'd experienced the most success and fulfillment had four things in common. Number one, I had inspired goals. Number two, I had guidance to achieve those goals. Number three, I was immersed in a group of like-minded people. And then lastly, I consulted with God consistently. So after reflecting on those patterns, I realized that these four pillars weren't just good ideas. They were actually essential for long-term success as an entrepreneur. And that's how the 4G framework was born. So now, when I applied the 4G framework to my entrepreneurial journey, the results were undeniable. So I started feeling more aligned with my purpose. I started feeling more confident about the steps I was taking. I started feeling more inspired about the impact that I was creating. And I started having peace with the decisions that I was making. So now I'm going to dig deeper into each of the pillars of the 4G framework, giving you actionable steps for your own personal journey. So now, the 4G framework starts with goals. Now, when I reflected, I realized that every time I thrived, I had goals that inspired me. See, goals point you in the direction that you need to go so that you're not just driving aimlessly. Because if you don't know where you're going, you'll always be lost. You'll feel like you're drifting and going through the motions without purpose. And when it comes to goals, there's a few things that I suggest. So first off, you have to define goals that excite you. Look, if it doesn't excite you in some way, then the consistency that you're going to need in order to achieve that goal will be even harder. And also, you have to have your goals front and center. See, one of the reasons that so many people break their New Year's resolutions by the second week of January is because they make a goal and maybe they're excited about it and even go the extra step to write it down. But they set it and then they forget it. See, inspiring goals typically require us to make some type of change in our habits or our behavior that makes you stretch out of your norm or out of your comfort zone. But without looking at your goals on a daily basis, it's basically an out of sight, out of mind. And it's too easy to fall back into your familiar patterns. So I suggest having your goals somewhere that you can literally see them every day so they become ingrained in your psyche. And by doing this, it's going to influence what you're thinking, which will then influence the decisions you make, which will then influence the actions you take. And that, my friend, is how lasting change happens. Now, another thing that I strongly suggest when it comes to setting a goal is to always start with your why. In other words, why does this goal even matter? Why is it important to me? See, a goal without a why is just a wish. It's that why that keeps you moving when the initial excitement fades. Because the initial excitement will always fade eventually. Especially when life starts lifing and you have other distractions going on. By the way, your initial why that you come up with usually isn't deep enough. It's typically pretty surface level. So what you have to do is you have to dig deeper. And in order to do this, you want to go 7 layers deep. In other words, once you set a goal, come up with your why for that goal, and then go a layer deeper. So, why is that important to me? And then whatever answer you come up with, go a layer deeper and answer why that matters. And so you want to do this 7 times. And so this is going to help you eliminate goals that probably aren't aligned with you because your why isn't big enough. Or it's going to reveal that this thing really doesn't matter to you as much as you thought. Now, I want to give you an example. Within 2 years of being in corporate America as a pharmaceutical sales rep, I literally knew I wanted to plot my own path and become an entrepreneur and a real estate investor. And so my surface level why was wanting to work for myself. But as I went deeper and deeper with my why, I realized that one of the things that I value most is freedom. Freedom to choose when I work, who I want to work with, what work I want to do, and how much money I can make. And I was willing to sacrifice in order to do that. All right, let's move to the next G, which is guidance. Now, I realized that I had made many goals in the past, but they were no more valuable than the paper I wrote them on. See, so many of us fall short of our goals because we state a goal or even write it down, but we have no plan to get there. There's a lack of guidance. See, goals don't come to fruition by osmosis. They require intentionality. It's like if you said your goal is to take a cross-country trip. Would you ever drive cross-country without directions? Of course you wouldn't. So why do we approach our goals that way? See, without guidance, or what I call your goal GPS, you'll make a lot of wrong turns, you'll burn a lot of gas, and you'll likely be mentally spent before you reach your goal. See, a goal GPS is essential for getting to your destination. And the simplest way to plug in the coordinates for your goal GPS is to start with the end in mind and then reverse engineer the journey. So for instance, if your goal is to write a book, after you make sure that it's aligned with your why, then you need to set a deadline. So there's this thing called Parkinson's law that states that work expands to fill the time allotted for its completion. So basically what that means is if you give yourself a year to do something, it's likely going to take a year. But if you give yourself 90 days to do that same thing, it will likely only take 90 days because you'll be more intentional with your time and the resources within that time frame. And if you give yourself no deadline at all, then guess what? You'll likely not achieve your goal at all. In my experience, I've had more success setting goals that are time-bound by 90 days. So I set goals that are big enough that they can't be completed in a week, but not so big that it would take me a year, which would mean that it would be harder to stay in momentum over such a long period of time. So then from there, you just work backwards. So what are the activities you need to do each month in order to achieve that goal? Each week, each day. Write those things down and let that be your roadmap. And a critical bonus tip is to schedule a time each week to reflect and write down your progress. So for instance, get a journal every Friday at the end of the week, write down what did you get done in relation to your goal? Where did you come up short? And then what's your plan next week to adjust for where you came up short? This is like double checking your GPS directions along the way in order to adjust for construction, also known as the distractions or road bumps that we encounter on our way to achieve our goals. And without this recalibration step, it's way too easy to set goals and then look up months later and be totally off track. And last thing I'll say about guidance is the importance of investing in resources to shorten your learning curve and get there faster. So whether it's mentors, courses, books, it's important to invest in resources that are going to help you plot a clear plan that you can follow. See, time is the one thing that you can never get more of. And investing in those resources in order to have clarity and reach your destination faster is critical. I'll never forget when I was in pharmaceutical sales and I was driving my sales route while I was listening to stacks of real estate investing CDs that consumed my passenger seat. Now, these courses were crucial because they gave me step-by-step guidance that helped me keep my goals top of mind. But the real game changer was when I found a mentor. So having someone who's already walked the path that I wanted to take, and that ended up saving me years of trial and error and countless dollars and mistakes. So if there's one piece of advice that I give you, is this: make sure you find a mentor or a coach. See, the right guidance can be the difference between years of struggle versus exponential growth. Now let's move to the next G, which is group. Now, this one can be difficult sometimes as entrepreneurs. See, we can get really locked in and we can become lone wolves. I mean, quite honestly, I'm guilty of it myself sometimes. But isolation breeds stagnation. In contrast, every time I've surrounded myself with like-minded people, I grow exponentially. See, in a group setting, you gain access to collective wisdom, you get new ideas, and you get encouragement during those challenging times, which always happen. Plus, you grow faster because you're not trying to figure out everything yourself, right? You're not keeping all of those ideas in your head. The other important part of being in a group is it allows you to sow seed. So what do I mean by that? Well, sowing seed means that it's not just about being in a group to help you grow. It's about also sharing your wisdom and experiences in order to empower others. So you're planting seeds. And see, sowing seeds leads to fruitful relationships that produce results that you'd never be able to achieve if you were in isolation. So, once you decide what your goal is and you have guidance in place, determine what people you want to align with in order to help you get there. Maybe it's a Facebook group or a local meetup group, or maybe it's our Overflow entrepreneur community. Just make sure that you get connected. And at the very least, find someone who you trust, somebody else that's growth-minded, so that they can serve as your accountability partner. Because accountability partners are a cheat code for accelerating your results. See, once you commit to sharing your plans and your progress on a weekly or bi-weekly or even monthly basis, you're more likely to be inspired into action in those times where you really don't feel like getting work done. Because now you're going to be accountable to someone else. So when I decided to focus on creating high-ticket offers in my business, I joined a mastermind group and I surrounded myself with other peers who were on the same path. And I was able to share what was working for me and also be surrounded by the collective wisdom of the group. Because the fact is, when you isolate, you stagnate. But in community, you elevate. All right, now let's go to the last G, God. Now, I consider this the most important G in the foundation of everything. See, I remember when I was a full-time investor and the few times that I lost a lot of money were times that I jumped into a huge deal thinking it was a good idea and I didn't consult with God first. Or I check in with him after things were already in motion and I'd ask him to bless something that I decided to do myself. Or I'd ask him to bail me out when I'm sinking on a boat that he never really told me to get on in the first place. Has this ever happened to you? Where you get so caught up in the moment and you're excited about moving forward on something, but you don't consult with God on your decisions. Or maybe bringing your business and your life decisions to God first is a new concept to you. That's perfectly okay. I'll tell you this though. Everything changed for me when I changed my approach. So instead of asking God to bless my plans after I put things in motion, I started inviting him into the planning process from the start. See, God wants to guide us. He doesn't want to be an afterthought. He wants to be the foundation of every decision that we make. This, my friend, is a cheat code for life and business. See, some people think that God isn't interested in the details of our lives. They think he's too busy for us, but nothing could be further from the truth. In the Bible, Psalms 37:23 says, "The Lord directs the steps of the godly. He delights in every detail of their lives. Though they stumble, they will never fall, for the Lord holds them by the hand." So not only does he want to be involved in the details, if we include him in our plans, he'll also be there to make sure that we never fall, even when we inevitably stumble. See, faith in that can give you another level of confidence when you do anything, because you know when you include God on the front end, you've got a built-in safety net as you walk this high wire of life and business. So let me tell you how I approach it. So if I'm feeling inspired by an idea or a goal, or I have a decision to make, whether it's a big one or a little one, I'll say a simple prayer. I'll say, God, please order my steps. If this next move is what you want from me, please give me peace to move forward. But if it isn't, close that door and redirect my heart. Let your will be done. Now, you may be wondering, but what if you don't hear anything? Look, I don't hear an audible voice either. Here's the thing. God is interested in the posture of our heart. And the fact that you're involving him on the front end before you take a step is what's most important. And I can promise you this. The more you do this, the easier it becomes to feel peace or a dis-ease in your spirit so that you know what to do. Either go left or go right. And if you move forward with whatever that next move is, you just have to make sure that you're checking in with him on the turn by turn along the way. So before I record shows, before I have meetings with clients, before I create any content, I'm always asking him to inspire me, and I'm checking in. The fact is, when you make God the CEO of your life and your business, you unlock a level of confidence that no strategy alone can give you. All right, now, these 4 G's create the foundation for personal alignment and fulfillment. But what about the strategies to grow your business and your income? Because we're entrepreneurs, right? Well, that's where the ACH framework comes in. Automation, continuity, and high-ticket offers. See, together, these frameworks provide a complete roadmap for both personal and business growth. So in the next episode, I'm going to break down the ACH framework in detail. I'm going to show you how automation, continuity, and high-ticket offers can help you grow your business in a way that you can focus on the things that you love and have a deeper impact and make life-changing money in the process. All right, so now if you are picking up what I'm putting down with the Overflow Entrepreneur Podcast, I want you to go ahead and subscribe right now so that you don't miss what's next. And if you want to dive deeper into how to apply the 4G framework to your life and your business, join my free newsletter. In the newsletter, you're going to get exclusive insights and actionable strategies that you won't get anywhere else. So you'll find the link in the show notes. And I just want to leave you something to carry into the rest of your week. Goals give you a reason to fight. Guidance keeps you moving right. A group will lift you when you're low, and faith will guide you where you must go. I want to thank you for giving me the space to share with you today. And until next time,